I'm actually not going to go over how to do endgame stuff. Hopefully you know how to do that already from the catch game or the breakout game. What I would like to do though is take a look at how I can turn this into a more of a video game, like the video aspect of it. So what if I want moving pictures? What if I want to have a scrolling background? So I'm going to focus on that piece of it for a little while. Let's see. I am using open processing, so I'm going to use this stuff up here. I had to put in this little thing here so that it wouldn't always preload things that I didn't necessarily have. And let's take a look real quick at a couple of websites that will help us out. So I'm going to be using Piskel because I'm going to try and create one of these animated GIFs. Now unfortunately, processing doesn't handle animated GIFs, so I'm going to have to break it apart into multiple frames. So there's another website I'm going to use, which is zgif.com/split, I believe. zgif.com/split. So I'll put links to these if you don't have to memorize these. And in fact, there are other things that you can use to create individual frames and just save them off. I'm just showing you one way you could do it. I'm pretty sure GIMP has a way to do this as well. And Piskel you could do frame by frame saving if you wanted to. The reason I'm doing this is if I go look at my sprites, I am going to look at this Maze platform game. And in particular, I'm going to be looking at, let's see, I'm going to have them going up. So if I look at this image, what this is a frame by frame of a walking image. If you look at that, there's 8 different images. And what I want to do is I want to break this one image apart so each of these is a separate frame. And then I'm going to load each of those separately into my game and then use this as a walking animation. So if I go create a sprite and import my image deep in here, the Explorer up. That is a comic strip, is why that is called a strip. This is indeed a sprite sheet. And so I want to do 32 by 32. And you see how this breaks it apart into multiple images? So now I have all of these different frames. I'm going to export it as an animated GIF. Oops, I wanted to download that as an animated GIF. There we go. So this is that as a series. And if I look at it, so notice that this is showing it as the animated GIF, where it actually looks like it's walking. This is one image that has multiple frames to it, and now what I need to do is grab those individual frames. So I'm going to do that using this guy. So I just downloaded it. I want to split it into frames. So now I have the zip folder, which I have to unzip. And ta-da, we have a bunch of frames. I need to now upload those into my demo. Boy, this is a lot of steps. So I'm going to call this Explorer 1 up. I'm going to copy that and rename this guy Explorer 2 up. Make sure you get the frames in order, otherwise he'll have funny looking animations where like he'll go jump into like his left arm being in the wrong spot all of a sudden in the animation. 4, for five, 6. Suddenly realized I should have put the number at the end. Oh well, too late. 7, 8. All right, all of those need to go into my files, or if I'm using regular processing, I could just put these in a folder with the same project and upload all of those to the site. All right, and now all that fun I just had with preloading images, I'm going to do that again. Except, I'm also going to use copy and paste to make this a lot easier. So I'm going to list all of these images in the preload section because I want them to show up immediately so that I have all the frames of my animation right away. This is the boring part. But it'll be cool, I promise. 7, 8. Alright. So I have uploaded all of those, and now I am going to create an array of those images. Boy, lots of arrays in this, isn't there? So processing is a pimage class for processing image. And I'm going to create an array of avatar images, and then I'm going to keep track of this with a counter. Similar to how I have a counter for these lists, I'm going to have one for the image as well. Avatar image count. And now let's go create these things. So now I'm going to manually create them. I suppose I could try and load them up by code, but I think this will make it a little clearer what's going on. Avatar images. And this is going to be the first one, which remember we count at 0. So avatar images 0 is going to be a loaded image, and then we give it the name. So the first one is explorer1.gif. And I'm going to do a similar thing for all 8. So I'm just going to copy and paste that a bunch of times and wander down the rows and change numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Something kind of curious to note, those of you math people, notice that by counting it's starting at 0, I go up to 7. There is no image 8 in this list, even though there are 8 things in it, if you count them up. This often leads to something called an off by 1 error that is an issue in coding. Alright, this will load all of the images into this avatar image array. So now what do I do with it? Well, I probably should make it so that I alter how things are drawn for the avatar and use these images instead of just the basic image. To more easily identify which object this is, I'm going to give the avatar an ID tag, .id tag, and by default, in order not to draw just squares, my avatar has to have a sprite. And I'm just going to give it this first one to begin with. I'm actually going to overwrite the way I draw it later on, so this is just for purposes of making sure that it goes into the right section of code. Alright, we're going to go deep into the dark places of drawing code. Let's see, down in game objects. So currently, we just are drawing objects. The sprite's null, we draw rectangles. Otherwise, we just draw whatever the sprite is. Let's make an extra exception here. If the object, which is currently this, if its ID tag is avatar, then instead what we're going to do is we're going to draw based on which frame of his animation he's on. Avatar images. The image is going to be that image. Avatar images. And then we need to decide which one. So I'm going to do avatar image count. We'll just do this for now, at his x and y. So since we are in the game object itself, if we know that we're the avatar, and we say x and y, we're referring to the avatar's x and y. Inside of game object, it actually knows about its own variables. Kind of cool. Let's see what we get. Cannot set the zero property of null. Wait, did I initialize my image array? I bet I didn't. I bet avatar images never got created. Where are you, avatar images? There you are. Images. Say new p image array of. I guess I can just put in Nate directly here. Alright, we have one frame of our animation. Well, it's not changing, so how do we get it to change? So way back down here in the drawing code, let's do avatar image count plus plus. And then what I'm going to do is I'm only going to take 0 through 8. So I'm going to use something called the modulus command, which is the percent sign. And what that does is divides by 8 and gives you back whatever remains. So if it evenly goes into 8, the remainder is 0, and I get the 0 image. If it's a 1, so let's say that I divide 9 by 8. It goes in once, and there's a remainder of 1, so it gives me back the 1. If I do 10% 8, then it will be 1, remainder 2, and I get the 2 back. So this always gives me back the remainder after I do the division. Wow, look at that guy go. He is animating. That seems like it's a touch fast, though. Let's see if we can fix that. So what if we, instead of taking just the image count, what if we do something like, I don't know, a fifth of that? So I still have to give it some sort of integer, because I have to get a particular frame back. So let's do the floor of that. Okay, so that's a fifth the speed. That's not too bad, actually. What if I do 10 divided by 10? That's much slower. I was happier with 5. Anyway, this is a number that you can mess with and get the animation speed that you truly want in your game. So it is actually just a counter that goes through and decides which frame to display, and it gives you that animated feeling. Very nice.